So it's early, and per usual, I'm out in my yard building things. I am starting on a new enclosure today using material that I've never worked with. What is that material? I will show you. PVC. I'm building enclosures for a pair of Uromastyxs that are coming in next week, as well as one more bearded dragon, a red monster import coming in from Hong Kong. Very excited. Sometimes having a clear plan is one of the most important things you need to do when you're building a reptile enclosure. I laid out my plan for this particular enclosure, and what that looks like is making sure I understand what all my measurements need to be. PVC isn't exactly a super expensive material, but it also isn't very cheap either. So I want to make sure I make as few mistakes as I possibly can while I am doing my cuts. If my cuts are wrong, everything is wrong. And no matter what you're building your enclosures out of, if it's PVC, if it's wood, if it's acrylic, if it's glass, if your cuts are wrong, everything is wrong. So I'm going to go ahead and start the process of cutting my panels to the measurements that I have decided upon. I'm using a table saw to do this. And then we'll start putting everything together. I'll show you what materials I'm going to use to connect the panels to each other. Let's get it. All of my pieces are cut and ready to go. I'm gonna go ahead and start the process of attaching the sheets to each other. I'm gonna work with this stuff here, which is PVC cement. I went with heavy duty and clear. Now, when you use this particular product to attach PVC to each other, it creates a chemical bond. It basically, it basically welds those two sheets of PVC together and creates a really, really strong bond that is resistant to separation. So first thing I'm gonna do, I got a towel, I'm gonna clean off the sheet. This is my base, and the overall dimensions of the enclosure, they're gonna be 2 feet by 2 feet by 4 feet. I've been experimenting, well, not quite experimenting, but thinking a lot about the size of the enclosures that I'm building for my reptiles. And I'm starting to feel that 4 feet is not big enough for my bearded dragons, also not big enough for my Uromastyxs. And so since I've now built the triple-decker reptile enclosure that I have my bearded dragons in, that's 5 feet long, I'm really feeling like 5 feet is the way to go. Right now, all the dragons in there are babies that are going to be growing, that I'm growing out for next season. But I can already tell, just based on the amount of space that they're taking up currently, that once they're adults, they're still going to have so much space to work with. And honestly, that just makes me over the top excited. So I'm building these guys at 4 feet by 2 feet by 2 feet, but I'm pretty sure down the line I'm gonna switch that up, and I'm gonna start building my enclosures at 5 feet by 2 feet by 2 feet. And for my Uromastyxs, I may even do 5 feet by 3 feet by 3 feet, because they will climb surfaces, but they're primarily ground dwelling creatures. So giving them more ground space to roam around, to burrow in, it's a win-win in my book. So I'm gonna go ahead, I have my sheets cleaned down. This is my base, and this is my back, which is probably dirty on the back. It is. This table is not the cleanest surface. This is our outdoor dining table. But it is the biggest continuous surface that I have that I can work with that would really accommodate this process. All right, cool. So now I have my 2 sheets cleaned up. It has a protective film over it. I'm gonna go ahead and peel that off. Perfect. And I'm gonna start the process of gluing. I should have tried to open this ahead of time because it might be, yeah, 1 second. Let me go open this. All right, and we're back. So inside of the PVC, there's a little brush to help with the application of the material. Like I've already said, this is my first time working with PVC, well, not with PVC glue. I've worked with PVC piping before to do a variety of different things, but this is the first time I'm working with expanded PVC foam panels. I'm honestly a little skeptical about how strong this material is going to be. Everyone says it's super strong. It's a lot more bendy than I expected it to be. I don't know, man. We'll see. I'm gonna go ahead and start the process of gluing on this first panel. I start the process by applying the PVC cement to both surfaces. Fail. All right, so I want to give myself more surface area to work with in terms of gluing this down. So I cut these about 1 inch strips, and I'm going to use these to create a line along this edge, and then that's going to give me a little bit more surface to adhere this and this to. Like I said, this is all trial and error. I've never built with PVC before, so you're learning with me while I learn. Let's go. So I'm hoping the additional surface area means more opportunities for it to stick. Fail. Man. One more time. Let's see. So I honestly want to just trust this glue. I really do, but I don't. So to make sure that everything is held together well, I'm gonna use a combination of the glue and my nail gun. That way, or my brad gun rather, that way I can feel 100% confident in the idea that these parts are gonna stay together. Isn't there something that folks say about the third time's the trick, third time's the one, the fail. Man. I decided to try a different technique of putting the side panel on first, hoping this would give me a bit more balance and a bit more structure. Things going smoothly so far, and that was honestly the one. I put in the foam back panels. This is going to make up the backdrop in the enclosure. And then I added the top. The top is a 1/4 inch piece of melamine that I adhered to the PVC. Added in the first front panel. This helped give it a little bit more structure. I couldn't find my towel. One of the downsides of having ADHD is that when I'm working on something, I am constantly losing the things that I need. So my shirt was the perfect solution to needing to clean this piece off. Once I can get this nice and clean, I can go ahead and add in my second front panel. I tried to make it nice and deep because Uromastyxs like to burrow, so I want to give them plenty of opportunity, plenty of space to dig as much as they want to. I added in some foam supports in the middle because, as I've mentioned already, this material is pretty bendy. So I wanted to add in some supports to give it a little bit more strength and structure. I am going to be stacking 3 of these enclosures on top of each other. So I really want to make sure that they can handle the weight. Using my handy dandy foam cutter, I love this thing. I added a little bit more decoration to those foam inserts. Here I'm spraying in the foam background and adding in some rocks. This is what it looks like. A mess. It doesn't look like a whole lot of anything, but I promise you it's gonna be epic when it's done. So I don't really like the look of this material, so I decided to wing it and add what's gonna be faux rock on the outside of the enclosure. I'm not a fan of this material, and I'm really excited about how this is coming out so far. So I got as much done today as I could on this new enclosure. I have to finish this one up. That looks like adding in the door, painting it, sealing it. So there's a few more steps that need to happen to this, and then I need to build a second one. I'm getting a pair, a girl and a boy, and I'm getting another bearded dragon, but she doesn't get here until July, so I have a bit of time to get that done. I don't know how I feel about working with the expanded PVC foam panels. I'm not gonna lie. They're pretty flexy, kind of strong, kind of not. I do like the direction I'm taking this particular enclosure in. It's gonna be really strong once I'm done with it. But as a material, man, I don't know. After I finish these 3 enclosures, I don't know if I'm going to work with this material again. Maybe it would be better if I was working with like a 1/2 inch thick PVC expanded foam, but I don't know. All I know is what I've worked with today, and I'm not a huge fan of it. I can't lie. I'm really not. I'll be able to finish this guy up tomorrow. I have some stuff I need to do, but I'll be able to finish this guy up over the weekend, start the other one and finish that one up probably by Monday or Tuesday, and I'll have both of these guys done. I will of course show you the rest of the process. That's what I got for now. I'm out. Bye.